Transplanting peppers is an often overlooked step in the growing process, and many gardeners unknowingly transplant their peppers incorrectly. Welcome to Pepper Geek, I'm Crystalline, and today I'm going to show you our step-by-step process for transplanting peppers the right way. Transplanting is simply the process of moving your plants into a new growing container. We typically do this twice a year, first when seedlings outgrow their seed cells and need to move to larger pots, and then again when they're ready for their final growing location, whether that be a larger container, in the ground, or in our raised beds. One question that we get all the time is, why can't I just move my seedlings into their final location? And there are a few good reasons why you wouldn't want to do this. First, a large pot contains a lot more soil and retains a lot more water than a seedling can realistically use. And this leads to saturated soil that isn't being used up by the plant's root system. Second, and more importantly, it saves a lot of space. We're growing well over 100 plants this year, including other veggies and flowers. And if we put them all into larger pots right away, we'd quickly run out of room indoors. By gradually increasing the pot size, we save a ton of space while also letting the plants grow larger. So another big question we get is when to transplant your pepper seedlings. And timing is everything when it comes to transplanting. If you planted your peppers in a standard 6-cell tray like this one, they should be ready to transplant around 2 to 3 weeks after sprouting. So it really depends on which size container you planted your seeds in. The general rule of thumb that we like to follow is that your pepper plant should be about 2 to 3 inches tall and also have 2 to 3 sets of true leaves. However, this can also vary a little bit depending on the growing conditions as well as the variety of the pepper. So the container size that you're starting your seeds definitely matters. The plant in this container got a little bit more time before it was ready to transplant because it was started in a larger container. Here I have 2 pepper varieties that are both ready to be transplanted. However, one is much taller than the other, so you do need to take that into account when you're deciding when to transplant. And today I'm transplanting some pepper seedlings that we got from chiliplants.com, the sponsor of this video. If you want to add some really unique pepper varieties to your garden this year and skip the whole seed starting process, or if you missed the opportunity to start seeds altogether, you can have live plants shipped right to your door. We got some really amazing varieties from chiliplants.com, including this coyote teeth pepper and this gator jigsaw purple, which we're really excited to grow. The packaging was really well designed, and all the pepper plants arrived in perfect condition, ready to transplant right out of the box. Chili Plants carries well over 300 types of unique pepper varieties, from sweet peppers like this Blushing Beauty, all the way up to Carolina Reapers and other super hots. So they have a truly impressive selection. If you want to check out chiliplants.com, click the first link in the description below and get your live plants before they're gone for the season. If you're still not sure whether your plants are ready for transplant, you can check the root system by gently sliding your plant out of its container. The roots should be reaching the bottom and edges of the soil, and it's best not to wait too long. You definitely want to catch the plant before the roots become too densely coiled and root-bound. Plants will survive being root-bound, but they may take a lot longer to adjust to their new home. And another really important tip for transplanting peppers is to allow your root ball to dry out slightly before transplanting. You'll want to hold off on watering your seedlings for 1 to 2 days. This makes it a lot easier for them to slide out of their containers. So aside from your plants, of course, you will need some basic supplies before uppotting your plants. I'm going to be transplanting these peppers into 3.5-inch pots that we're reusing from last season. You'll also want to use a basic soil mix that already has nutrients added, and you'll want to make up some plant markers ahead of time to avoid any mix-ups. So with everything we need, let's get started transplanting. To start off, fill a mixing container with enough pre-moistened soil to fill the larger pots. Pre-moistening the soil is a crucial step many gardeners often skip. Cold water can shock your seedlings, so you'll want to add room temperature water slowly while mixing thoroughly. The soil should stick together when squeezed, but it shouldn't be dripping water. If it gets too wet, just add some additional dry soil and mix again. This is also when you can add some soil amendments if you'd like. Earthworm castings are a great addition for veggies or houseplants, but you can also add a slow-release fertilizer, compost, or any combination you'd like. Fill the pots about 3/4 full, compressing until you feel some resistance. Use your finger to make a hole large enough to fit the seedling's roots. It's okay if it isn't quite as deep as the seedling's roots, since you'll be adding more soil around the plant anyways. Next is the delicate part where you'll be removing the seedling from its cell. Earlier, I mentioned the important tip about letting the root ball dry slightly, and that step makes this part a bit easier. Gently massage the outside of the plastic container to loosen up the soil. Then flip the pot sideways or upside down and carefully release the plant, letting gravity do most of the work. Be very careful not to crush the stem or the foliage in the process. If it's stubborn, you can try squeezing it again, and never pull too hard or use force because you can harm or break the plant. This is what a healthy root ball looks like, roots all the way to the edges and bottom, ready to continue growing. If your roots are densely coiled, you can gently tease them apart with your fingers to encourage outward growth, but this is optional as the plants tend to figure it out on their own. Pop the seedling into the hole in the new pot, centering the stem. Then add more soil to surround the seedling's roots, filling just to the top of the soil surface and no further. Burying young pepper stems can lead to stem rot, so we don't recommend it. Then compress the soil around the pepper plant. The next step is just as important as the transplanting process. You'll want to give your newly transplanted seedlings a gentle drink of room temperature water. Since we used a potting soil that already had nutrients in it, there's no need to fertilize your seedlings for the first few weeks. And top watering is okay as long as you're not too aggressive. You don't want to use a strong hose or a blast of water or something that may damage the seedlings or displace the soil. Typically, a gentle watering can will work best. So after transplanting, for the first couple of weeks, don't be too concerned if your plants don't seem to grow much. After transplanting, they tend to focus more of their energy on developing root systems as opposed to leafy growth. This is completely normal, and it shows that your plants are establishing well to their new home. So you may be wondering, why can I not just plant my seeds directly into a 3 or 4 inch container and skip the first transplanting process altogether? And we do get this question a lot, and you can definitely start your seeds in a larger container like this. However, it depends on how many plants you're growing and whether you have the space indoors to grow them, as well as the lighting setup. Another question we get frequently is, can I just direct sow my peppers? I live in a warm climate. And the answer is no, we generally don't recommend that because pepper seedlings are so vulnerable to pests and animals as well as temperature changes. So even if you live in Florida or somewhere with a warm climate, it is generally recommended to transplant your peppers outside. Hopefully this video helped you learn how to transplant your peppers the right way, and if you have any questions, leave a comment below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. We tip